Welcome to The Human Experience, a podcast about the stories we live out every day and the importance of championing the vulnerability and courage of the storyteller. I'm your host, Jennifer Peterkin, and it was through my own lived story of experiencing domestic violence that this podcast was created. By traveling the globe and interviewing each guest in person, I am convinced now more than ever that stories have the power to change the world. You can join our community of storytellers by subscribing, leaving a rating and review, signing up for my newsletter, following me on Instagram, and more. Thank you for being here. In a world full of noise, to listen with intention is an act of resistance.
All right, Shakina. Well, we are here in Philadelphia after you have just finished hosting your second annual housing fair for your organization, She Is You. Mm-hmm. So, first of all, thank you for sitting down with me now at the end of the day.
Yes, you're welcome.
And inviting me to come meet some change makers here and to be able to interview them as well. It's been a lovely experience.
Glad.
Yeah. So I would love to, maybe let's talk about what happened today and then move backwards, because She Is You was born out of your own personal experience. But I would love to hear about the organization and why you did what you did today and the other things that you're doing in your community.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So, She Is You, it's a nonprofit, and what we do is we provide resources and services to families and individuals impacted by domestic violence, sexual abuse, and sexual assault. So we like to bring together whatever resources that they may need, whether it's housing, whether it's mental health support, whether it's sexual education, whether it's employment, training, opportunities. We like to just, bring them all together and provide the service or the resource. So it was definitely this life purpose, this life mission was definitely birthed from unfortunately, my own personal experiences. Mm-hmm. I've experienced childhood sexual abuse. I experienced domestic violence as a young teen up until a young woman. And I also experienced sexual assault as a young woman. And it's so funny because when I tell people, the things that I've experienced, they look at me like I have three heads. Yeah, they look at me like, what? Like, you've been through all of that? Like, you experienced all of that? Like, I can't imagine, you know what I mean? I can't even tell, because I guess some people that have been through so much trauma, they're somewhere, like, I don't know, like in a nut house, you know what I mean? Or they're not doing too well. And I did have my struggles, but thanks be to God. I am a believer, and God is the author and finisher of my faith. And without him, nothing would be possible in my life. I would not be here. So I have to give glory to him and all honor to him, because he healed my heart. He healed my mind. He made me a brand new person. And that's how I'm able to do what I'm doing today. That's how I'm able to speak to other individuals who have gone through or experienced the same things that I have experienced, and to speak to them as a person who has overcome. I forgive my father. I forgive, the person that sexually assaulted me and took advantage of me and victimized me. I forgave them. I forgave, my mother, who I felt like didn't protect me or who didn't believe me. I forgave, my intimate partners that I thought I loved and that I thought loved me. I forgave all of them, and I forgave myself. That was like the biggest one. I forgave myself. I had to look at myself in the mirror and say, you know what, Shakina, I forgive you. And I promise you, I will never, ever, ever let anyone hurt you ever again. Like, I took the responsibility for myself. I took the responsibility for the protection and the healing of myself. I no longer look to other people. I no longer blame, oh, it's your fault. This is why this happened to me. Okay, I get it. You know, you wasn't there. You couldn't protect me. You couldn't fight for me. But now I'm going to fight for me. And I'm going to still love you while I do it. You know what I mean? I'm not going to resent you. I'm not going to hate you. I'm not going to say, I don't want you a part of my life, anything like that, because I don't think that's coming from a healed place, you know? So I'm able to love people just as if, you know, I've never been hurt before.
Wow. That's pretty incredible. And, you know, you already said it, but glory to God in that. And clearly that's had a huge impact on your life and how you've been able to move forward. So again, today we're here because of a housing fair that you are hosting under She Is You, but She Is You does so many different things. And, you know, it's focused on women who are, and people who are experiencing domestic violence, sexual abuse and sexual assault. But what are the ways that you tangibly do that around the city?
Okay, great. So I'm going to say this. It's not just so much as women. I like to say individuals, because it's not just women that are impacted by domestic violence or that are impacted by abuse. But some of the ways is that, you know, we like to create, we have a program that we created. It's called the Family Bonding Program. And from my experience, having a family that's bonded, having a family that's tight-knit and healthy communication and all of that stuff, and you know, it creates like a barrier. It creates a layer of protection from people who are easy prey, I want to say, or people who are, you know, it protects them from predators. Like, because let's be honest, there are people who are predators. You know, that's just the way life is. You know, so we have a family bonding program where we have different initiatives throughout the year. We have the She Is You Family Giving, where we host a family for the weekend at a private Airbnb location for the weekend. They have a catered chef throughout the weekend to prepare their meals, breakfast, lunch, dinner. You know, they're also escorted to outdoor activities, you know, bonding activities, whether it's Top Golf or whether it's the escape room. We like to create an environment where the family can communicate, where the family can, you know, connect with each other on a different level, you know, outside of their normal environment or home. So that's one of the initiatives that we have. We also have a scholarship where we offer either a graduating high school student or an incoming freshman college student, where we offer them a scholarship and a back-to-school shopping spree. We have the bereavement, where if someone had a loss of life due to abuse or domestic violence, where we like to try to support with the funeral costs or the funeral expenses. So we offer a lot of different programs, initiatives. We just had our latest initiative, which is called Wills to Freedom, where we supported an overcomer of sexual abuse. We were able to donate a pre-owned vehicle to them. Yeah, because it was more so about creating a place where people like that can be heard, people like that can share their story. You know, because so many people, you know, are silent and they hold their story in. And it's like, hey, we see you. It doesn't matter how long ago it happened. It doesn't matter, you know, how old you were or whatever. We see you. We care about what happened to you. We want to support you, you know, and we're happy that you overcame. And if you're still overcome, we're here. So that was important because a lot of people got a chance to share their story that never have. And it's like, hey, thank you for thinking of us. Yeah. Thank you, you know, thank you for what you're doing, because it's like a lot of victims, they feel like, you know, nobody cares or their story is not important. But every single one of your stories are important, especially to me, especially to the She Is You community family. Everybody's story is significant. and it's unique to them. And, my story might not be your story and your story might not be mine. I mean, they are relatable, but, it's not a one size fit all.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's a lot. I really love, so having been through a lot of this yourself, and from an advocacy standpoint, what strikes me is that you're standing in the gaps where so many organizations, especially like the state-run domestic violence organizations, aren't able to go. And so you're doing different things, and, for better or worse, whatever that is, that they're able to do. But in advocacy, we know like one organization doesn't fit all of the needs of people, right? So what I love is She Is You is so unique in how it shows up for people.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's just a really, really cool showing of, showing up for people. And I love that. And it's very clear that it was born out of a personal desire to see people do well and to heal.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's really heart-led. Some people say, oh, you're too nice. You just give and give. And I feel like it's better to give than it is to receive. Mm-hmm. I feel so much more blessed when I'm able to give. I have what I need. I have my mind. I almost lost it.
Yeah.
I almost lost it, So with that, I have everything. So it's okay for me to give. It's okay when, I'm giving someone a pre-owned vehicle when maybe my car is not doing so great or whatever the case may be, or my transportation is not, secure, whatever. I feel good about providing someone shelter when, hey, maybe I'm having a hard time paying a mortgage or rent or whatever the case may be. But I know that I feel like, well, I'm not even going to say I know. My needs are met. The Lord has met me and He's provided for me. Having Him is having everything that I need, Yeah.
Has faith been a part of your whole life, or is it something you found later on?
So I was introduced to faith as a young child, but it really didn't become a part of my life. I mean, it really didn't become present, I'm going to say, in my life until I heard God's voice for myself. Yeah. I heard God's voice through other people, but I never heard it for myself. And once I heard it for myself, when I was standing in the mirror, and I could not look at myself. I could not. I kept hearing, "You're ugly. You're dirty." I kept hearing all of these different voices. And no, I was not schizophrenic, but you know how we have our subconscious thoughts. But I just kept hearing, and I just could not lift my head up to look at myself in the mirror because I felt like what I seen was ugly. I didn't want to see myself in the mirror. And I heard God say, "Come to me." That was the first time that I ever heard God's voice. And I went, and I haven't been in a place of faith in a long time at this point. I'm like thinking all types of stuff at this point. Just all types of stuff to self-destruct, And I heard God's voice. And when I heard His voice, I knew it was Him. And I heard His voice very clear. And when He said, "Come to me," everything just opened up. Everything. The depression, the anxiety, everything that I was feeling just kind of went away at that moment. And I went back to my childhood church home. I haven't been there in years. But I went back to Him at that moment. That's where I last was introduced to Him. Yeah. So that's where I went.
Wow.
And then,
yeah, I mean, to have such a visceral experience. You really can't. God really wanted you to hear, right?
Like, say my sheep know my voice.
Yeah.
A stranger they will not follow.
Yeah.
And I knew it was God. And instantly everybody recognized the change in me. They could see that, whatever I was going through, I wasn't going through it anymore.
Yeah. And this is after you've experienced all of like your traumas, correct? Like, that you've described?
No. So this was like before I experienced the sexual assault.
Oh, wow.
And I was just early in the domestic violence.
Okay.
But the sexual abuse I experienced from a toddler to about age 9.
Oh, wow.
The sexual abuse. It started when I was just a baby. And then it stopped when I was 9 years old. And my mother found the story in my diary. Yeah. And at that moment, I was just like under interrogation. And at that moment, I was ostracized. I was looked at as if I'm trying to destroy my family, my father. Yeah. So that kind of made my life take like a turn. But yeah, that was the first time that I heard God's voice, but I later experienced the sexual assault as an adult when I ran away from God. I didn't stay. I didn't stay. When he called me, I didn't stay. I ran back out. But guess what? He never left me. I left him. And he brought me back. Well, he welcomed me back home. Yeah. He welcomed me with open arms. I thought that I was going to find love, safety, but I was already broken.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, and it's hard when trauma is such a hard thing because we do internalize it so much, right? We do feel like you said about seeing yourself in the mirror, not wanting to see yourself in the mirror because you had taken on so much of that. You felt dirty. Shame. Yes.
I mean, I was so ashamed and I was muted. My voice was muted. And when I was not believed, I didn't feel like there was a need for me to speak about it.
Yeah.
I didn't feel like it was a need to ever talk about it again. So I held it in and suppressed it. What goes on in this house stays in this house. So I felt like, I took on a role as protecting the family. I have to protect this secret to protect my family. I have to keep this secret to keep my family together. If I say anything, my daddy's going to jail. It's going to be all my fault because I told.
Yeah. At 9. Yeah. You're dealing with these.
Because I told, it would have been my fault that my dad went to jail or he got hurt or whatever. And,
Yeah.
Whatever.
So the childhood abuse stopped at the childhood sexual abuse stopped at age 9. But how long did you stay? How long before you left home, I guess?
So, my father died when I was 12.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So now I'm just being raised by a single mom, single parent. And then I had a child at 15. I got pregnant at 15. I had her at 16. So that was one of the side effects, if that's the right word, for being, it's like early pregnancies.
Yeah.
Hypersexuality and stuff like that. So I, shortly after my father passed, I got pregnant. I had a child, a daughter. She's 26 now. She's married. Her and her husband just bought a home. She's happy, and I'm grateful because things could have went a completely different way.
Yeah.
You know, she's a Spelman grad. So many people counted me out, counted her out. It's like, you know, you want to be like your mom. And, you know, they figured that my child was going to be this disruptive child or whatever because I experienced so much trauma. Like I was a juvenile delinquent. I got suspended from school all the time. I was angry. I stayed in fights. I was attracted to the gutter. I'm going to say. It drew me. Everything that was like negative and just destructive was, I loved it.
Yeah.
I chased it. I was addicted to the pain. You needed to hurt. I needed to feel hurt, to feel loved. That was normal to me. Actually, you know what? I was numb. I was numb. You know, I didn't know how to identify danger.
Yeah.
That was completely disrupted. My instincts and senses to danger and hate was completely distorted.
Yeah. So you were a single parent.
I was a teenage parent.
Oh, okay.
But I wasn't a single parent. Her father was a teenager as well. So I was like 15, 16. He was like 18 or something like that. And she's both our only child.
Okay.
So he doesn't have any children. But that's when I started to experience the abuse, the domestic violence, from the age of 14 to about 20.
Wow.
When I decided to kind of date somebody else, and it kind of turned into like this little love triangle, whatever. And my daughter's father wound up shooting the guy that I was dating in front of me.
Oh my.
Yeah. I can write a book, right?
Yeah.
I'm actually writing a book.
Good for you.
I have a few titles for it, but I haven't really decided on it just about yet. But, you know, one title that I have is At the Tip of Daddy's Fingers. Because everything happened at the tip of that. You know, I know it's ambiguous. And then I had another title, When My Brokenness Was Broken. So, yeah, I don't know. We'll see.
Well, I am sure that it's going to be beautiful, a beautiful expression that will help a lot of people, because I know you already are helping a lot of people. But that's a lot of life to live in such a few amount of years.
Yeah. I'm 42. And I'm kind of, I didn't really start living life until I think I turned 30. That's when life started like happening for me. When I really started to experience life and enjoy life.
Yeah.
And enjoy life not from a person with low self-esteem. You know what I mean? A person that didn't know her self-worth. You know, that didn't know the difference between someone that loves you or lusts you. Like, I now know what love is. I now know how love is supposed to feel. And it's because of the love of God. You know, the love of God is so great. It's so overwhelming that when you feel something that is opposite from it, you'll notice it like immediately.
Yeah.
Like, wait a minute, hold up. This isn't right. This does not feel good. And guess what? I don't have to accept it.
Yeah.
I don't have to accept it. I don't owe anyone anything. Hello?
Yep.
To think that you're supposed to sit back and let someone hurt you in order to show them you love them.
Yeah.
Or in order for you to show them that you believe they love you. Oh, no. That is a lie.
Yeah.
That is a lie. And I believed it for so long that, you know, that was a part of love.
Oh, yeah.
This was something that you know, love hurts. Love is never supposed to hurt. Never, never, ever.
Yep.
Like, you know, and I wish people really come to an understanding of that. Love is love.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with hate.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with jealousy. It has nothing to do with insecurity. It has nothing to do with sex.
Yeah.
Nothing at all. You don't need sex for someone to love you.
Yes.
You know? Yeah, so I learned how to protect me, and it's just, just being aware of myself, understanding myself, learning myself.
Yeah.
Knowing my insecurities, understanding that, and just having boundaries, of course, and just being aware of your surroundings, being aware of people around you.
Yeah.
And paying attention to those red flags. Don't ignore them.
They're not getting better.
We're not perfect.
Yeah.
Nobody is perfect. But you have to be able to identify a red flag because you cannot fix anyone.
Yeah.
It's not your job to fix people.
Preach. Yes.
You can love them. But you cannot fix them. But loving someone is definitely loving yourself. Not hating yourself, not putting yourself in danger. No. Not bending over backwards and letting somebody walk on you. No. Not letting someone piss on you and tell you it's raining. No.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's such an important piece of healing to distinguish between, because you've talked about, forgiveness and the work that you have done to be okay. But at the same time, boundaries are a part of that. Not accepting that kind of behavior from people is a part of that. Holding people accountable is a part of that. It's all a part of forgiveness. It's all a part of compassion. And I think that's a really important thing that we can often miss in the, so-called healing part of things, that you're just supposed to, quote, forgive and forget. Well, you can forgive. You don't have to forget. In fact, you shouldn't, because that experience is invaluable and you should remember, it's information for you.
So let me tell you. When God healed me, He healed me from the memory of the pain. Not the memory of what happened.
Yeah.
But He healed me from the rehearsing of the pain, like the feeling of it. Like my body, my cells and all of that stuff, we no longer remembered the pain of the trauma. So I can talk about it easily and not feel sad and not get angry. You know what I mean? I can look at the person that sexually assaulted me and give that person a hug and be fine and go on about my life. Because hurt people hurt people. I'm not hurt. I'm not taking on someone else's hurt and walking around with it and holding it like hot coal, looking for somebody else to be burnt or something like that. No, I'm going to go on. I'm going to be happy and God bless you. Yeah. And I pray that you find happiness and you find forgiveness in yourself because you hurt someone.
Yeah.
But He healed me from the memory of the pain. So oftentimes when we're dealing with PTSD and anxiety and depression, we are remembering the pain because that happened. Whatever happened, it happened 10 years ago, 5 years ago, whatever, however. But it's the pain that you continuously just keep remembering.
Yeah. Revisiting.
Yeah, revisiting.
Yeah. Absolutely. Our bodies will hold on to that stuff a lot of the time. And I'm so happy that you were healed from that. That's incredible. And clearly it served a purpose because you're now doing what you are with She Is You, and it's making a huge impact. And I don't know that you would have been able to do that if you were still, crippled by the pain.
No. I tell people, I would have been either sick somewhere, dying from AIDS, in a mental institution, or somewhere strung out on drugs. That was what was set up for me. And that's what a lot of people that are out there that are on drugs, that are, maybe in the strip clubs or have, multiple sex partners and all of that stuff. And those are some of the things that they are dealing with. It's a symptom of a bigger issue. And I tell people that domestic violence is a symptom. It's a symptom. I don't blame the people that abuse me per se. You know what I mean? I was handicapped. I had a disability because of the trauma that I experienced. My self-esteem was damaged. It was what's the word? Compromised. Just like your immune system can be compromised. So I could not fight or flight.
Yeah.
I didn't know how to put up a defense. That part of me was damaged.
Yeah. So do you say that your healing journey started when you heard God directly you?
It started when I heard God's voice the first time. I was really young. I think I was like 20.
Okay.
And that's when I first started. I used to have flashbacks of the trauma when I was a kid, and I never knew what they were. I didn't know. I used to see flashes. I was like, why do I keep? And I was being triggered. So I started having certain triggers. And that's when it first started. I was having the flashbacks, and I was experiencing certain triggers, and that's when God was calling me to Him. And I went, but I didn't stay. And I went out because I'm 20. I want to live my life. I want to do what I want to do, and I'm just now hearing God's voice for the first time, and I'm just like, I want to part. I'm still young. But God said, when I experienced the sexual assault, and that was like the nail that
in the coffin. Yep.
Yeah. When I experienced the sexual assault, God said, okay, now you got enough.
Yeah.
And a chair was thrown on me, and my mind wanted to go bye-bye. God said, no, we going to come over here, daughter. We ain't going over that way. Our mind is not going left. We going to go right.
Yeah. So
it was, I guess the, trauma after trauma, and God said, you done had enough. Come to me. Come to me.
Yeah. And, healing is such a difficult thing because it's not linear. And there are some things that, you have to heal over and over again, it feels like. But to hear you talk with such confidence about your experience, I think is hopeful for others that have maybe been through something but aren't in the same place. They aren't in a healed place, or they feel like they're just never going to get there. And so to know that there are people that have been through what they've been through, but then have moved into a space of love and compassion and advocacy and kindness.
Let me tell you something. You have ego, you have pride. We like to pride ourselves into saying that we are great human beings. We've never hurt or did anything to anybody. And we have, every individual on this earth has done something to hurt someone. Now, whether we know how impactful it was, or, you know what I mean, that's a different conversation. But you've hurt someone.
Yeah.
You may not have done what the rapist or the molester or the abuser may have done, but you still hurt this person. So you don't know the impact that may have had on them, as opposed to the impact that the abuse or the assault or the molestation has had on you or whatever, right? So God had to show me myself, and he had to show me how I hurt people too. And I remember running into an old childhood friend. I'm telling you, this was from like the 3rd grade, 2nd grade. And we're like grown adults, like in our late 30s. And I haven't seen her in years. And she instantly recognized me. And I had to do a double look. And I'm like, oh my God, that's you? And she said, hey, oh my God. And at that moment, she said to me, you got me in trouble so bad. And mind you, we're like late 30s or something.
Okay.
This happened in the 2nd or 3rd grade.
Oh, wow.
2nd, 3rd grade, elementary school. She said, oh my God, you got me in trouble so bad. And the look on her face was just like, it was so serious. I can't even remember what I did or whatever, what happened, but she remembered all the way up until and that was the first thing. And I got out the car and I apologized to her. I said, I'm so sorry. I couldn't remember what I did, but she just kept saying, oh my God, you got me in trouble. And she never shared the details to what happened, but she remembered, and that impacted her. That hurted her. And she carried it.
Yeah. That's a great reminder. Not even a reminder. It's probably something we don't think about even enough.
You don't know how you, 9 years old, calling that little girl ugly, talking about her nose or her freckles or whatever, has hurted her throughout her life.
Yeah.
So now here it is. Someone hurt you. So now it's, woe is me.
Yeah.
So that's how I was able to forgive.
Yeah.
Because I had to look at myself. You know, I had to look at, my sin and all of that. Not to get too spiritual, but yeah.
Yeah. Clearly it has served you well, as you have
Thank you.
impacted a lot of people because of it. So at what point did you decide to start She Is You? At what point in your journey?
Oh, man. Jeez. I didn't choose She Is You. She Is You chose me. I was into, entrepreneurship, for profit. I never thought about starting a nonprofit.
Because you have a bunch of other things that you're doing. I mean, you're busy.
Not as much as I was. I took a step back from the for-profit and I just been solely focusing on the nonprofit. But at what point when I seen how so many other young women and young individuals are dealing with the same things that, I overcame. And I just seen that it was needed. It was needed. Just because I'm no longer in it, I've overcame it, I'm healed, does not mean that there isn't someone else out there that's still dealing and going through it,
Sure.
And everyone needs someone, And there are people out there that I've looked up to, that has inspired me, that has motivated me, and I want to be that, you know what I mean? Because it's important, it's needed, Because I've had people that have negatively inspired me, that have negatively motivated me, that I've looked up to, that were negative, You know what I mean? Hey, oh, so-and-so is going through this. So-and-so is dealing with this. So-and-so has a black eye. You know, like, what's the big deal about me having one? What's the big deal about me getting a busted lip? If so-and-so is still with her situation and they seem like they're happy, you know, they seem like they're in love and all of that, like, what makes me any different? No. Someone is always watching you. You have a responsibility. As a human being, you have a responsibility to lead. You know, you're leading someone. I don't care who you are. Even if you're a bum on the street, you're leading someone. You know what I mean? There's a leader in you.
Yeah. I just love your commitment to personal responsibility. I think it's hugely impactful, and that our world would probably be a lot better if we all just took a look at ourselves and acted accordingly before we lashed out at others. Yeah, I think it's really great. And, you know, clearly it informs the work that you then do. Yeah, I love it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
So obviously we'll link to She Is You in the show notes and everything, but what do you guys have coming up that's exciting?
So we're looking to host a workshop called Walk in My Shoes, where we want to exchange new shoes. We want to partner with Converse, where each individual gets to write a note on the bottom, on the sole of a shoe, and swap it, like blindly swap it with someone. And you know, and that person gets to like put that shoe on, whatever it is, without the other person knowing, you know, and just to see what it's like to walk in someone else's shoes. Yeah, so we have that coming up. We're looking to probably do it for Mother's Day. And of course, we have the scholarship, the Great Give Back, where we, you know, donate. So, yeah, so we have a few things coming up in our staycation getaway giveaway. We like to do that for Christmas and the She Is You family giving. We are looking for a space to start our support groups. Yeah. So, yeah, we got a lot of great things coming up.
Amazing. Yeah. And it looks like you have a great team too. So
thank you. I can't pay them enough. But they have purpose too, you know. So I'm grateful for them.
Yeah. Yeah. So I do ask everybody one question at the end of each episode, which is, through the lens of your experience, what does compassion mean to you?
Compassion means to me is just extending the grace that you will want someone to extend to you. In your time of need, in your time of trouble, without judgment. You know, without judgment. That's what compassion means to me. Just extending that grace, extending that shoulder, that hand, you know, giving someone $3 to catch the bus, or filling someone's gas tank up. Like, we have an instinct. Like, you know when someone is having a hard time. You can tell if you're around them. You can tell.
Yeah.
Or treating someone to lunch. You know, just filling in the gap, meeting the need. You know,
yep.
without it even being said.
Yeah. Love it. Thank you so much for your time again after your event that I'm sure you were up, you know, many nights planning for. So I appreciate it.
Yes, I appreciate you. Thank you. This was a great experience.
Oh, good.
Yes, the human experience. This was great.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to The Human Experience. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the podcast, please subscribe, share it with your friends and family, share it on social media, and rate and review it on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. You can also support the podcast financially by going to my website, thehxpod.com, linked in the show notes, and clicking on Donate. It takes a lot of time and resources to create this podcast, so every little bit helps. Everyone has a story, and I'd love to hear yours. So be sure to check out the show notes for more information about how to stay in touch. Do good and love well.